1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Yeah, making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? My name is Rockin' Mr. Magic, and this is the original Jeek podcast. Today, I am without my friend, my brother, my podcast partner for life, Unique DNA. First, we apologize for the lengthy layoff, but unfortunately, life happens, and Unique DNA is very busy with his family. I am now busier because of all that year and a half you hear me about me not working. I am now working. So time has been good, but also harsh on our schedules. But he and I will be back. But we at Jeek Nation are not done bringing you dope content. So for this, our first episode of what is now going to be season 5 of the original Jeek podcast is a special edition. I have two very awesome guests with me, and this episode is titled Half Ton of Awesome. Introducing first, from the Nerd of Godcast, the Ignatic, QGN, Quentin Gregory Neff.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, mis amigos? How's it going, Jeek Podcast? So happy to be here. So happy to be a guest on the show. I'm excited. It's gonna be an awesome night tonight. A good time. I'm just pumped. I'm pumped to be with you guys here. It's a good time.
Yes, indeed. We are so glad to have you here, representing Nerd of Godcast, which is always a fun time for me to be on, and I'm glad to return the favor to a cast member. Also joining us for this awesome episode. You've heard about him before. You've heard us reference his podcast, representing the Infinity Bros podcast. The man who never fails to mention his beautiful wife, Mr. Mark Jones.
Glad to be here to tickle the ears of Jeek Nation. And also, you are breaking my guest pod appearance cherry today, so you're getting the first.
I am so honored right now. This is amazing. This is podcast history. What's going on right now? So we're gonna kick this off right from the door. So I'm gonna throw some questions at y'all. I know, listeners, I know a bit about Neff and Mark's their Jeek affiliations, but I want them to share a little bit more. And I want to learn a little bit more, because there may be some Jeek things that they're into that I don't even know. So we're going to jump in here. First, we're going to start, because we're in the middle of the football season. Today is the end of, being Monday night as we're recording, the end of week 9 in this NFL season. And we're going to start with Neff because he's a Bucs fan.
Oh, yeah.
And Neff, tell me, how confident are you in your Tampa Bay Buccaneers to repeat as Super Bowl champs?
Listen. I was super confident going into the season, and then we lost to the Rams, and I was like, oh, well, maybe not. And then we were doing really well. I was like, well, maybe. And then we lost to the Saints, and I'm like, well, maybe not again. So we have a great team. We have great players, obviously, all the talent on there that we have. I'm really excited about it. But it really comes down to having the right discipline and making the correct plays, and also being healthy. All of our players are hurt. All of our cornerbacks are hurt. We don't have a secondary. We're just getting beat all the time, and it's the worst. But we have Tom Brady, so I guess we can live with it. We have all the receivers we could ever want. We're gonna have to, we'll have to make do.
Yeah, because you've got arguably the GOAT quarterback of all time on your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, your secondary is beat up. Yeah, you lost to the Rams, but the Rams are loading up for a Super Bowl run. That's why they traded for Von Miller. The Rams are no joke. It's not like you lost to a scrub team, you know.
We lost to the Saints.
Yeah, but the Saints are Drew Brees retiring away from being good. Like they're not, and Jameis is hurt. Like they're not a bad team. And there's talk that they're going to try to pull Phillip Rivers out of retirement.
That'd be wild.
To try to push for the playoffs. So like, they're really
I was gonna say they could have his kids play. They could have his kids fill up the rest of the roster.
His kids could fill 2 rosters. That man has like 40. Phillip Rivers has like 40 children. If y'all didn't know, like Phillip Rivers is
he's a good Catholic.
He is. And even though this is a secular show, everyone happened to be on this show right now are Christians, and so we're not gonna be talking badly. This is simply a joke. But Phillip Rivers is one of those dudes who read "Be fruitful and multiply" and was like, "Okay, God, I'm gonna make sure I really, really, really obey this "Be fruitful and multiply" thing." Like my man, that poor woman. I just like. He must like there's something that there's pregnancy in the water in their house. Like it's wild.
He made an Abrahamic covenant.
Clearly,
you will be the father of many children.
Yes, he was like, wait, God, could I be a father of many nations too? Because
yeah, and it was like God said, you can have 9 championships or 9 children. And he pressed the wrong button.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Wow.
Phillip Rivers is the man of many, many childs. Well, at least you've got something to celebrate. You lost a couple games. However, you could be crying like Mark and I with our sad NFC North teams.
Well, I think I'm gonna drop some knowledge here. I'm actually a Patriots fan. Jeek Nation, just letting you all that know.
We were talking Vikings last time. My goodness, he's wearing.
My dad's a huge Vikings fan. I have a lot of friends who are Vikings fans, so they're my second favorite team. But I grew up a Patriots fan my whole life. My first jersey was a Drew Bledsoe jersey, so.
Oh, I love Drew Bledsoe.
There it is.
Okay, well you're not a bandwagoner then, so I can respect that.
But no, go on. Yeah, the NFC North has been kind of dismal this year.
Well,
I know, Aaron Rodgers.
I was hoping that you're going to share some of my pain, but since you're a Patriots fan and you've got a ton of recent goodness to think about,
I can empathize.
You can't empathize.
The greatest quarterback of all time left our team.
You can't empathize with 0-16, okay?
Oh, you're right.
You're like,
listen, I don't want to be that guy. This is awkward because it's like, are the greatest quarterback of all time left us, and I'm over here like, I don't know anything about that.
He's not going to leave y'all until he's like 50. So
I guess so. I guess Kyle Trask is just going to sit on.
Or maybe when he's 47, he'll come to Detroit and be like, "Let's do it. Let's just win one for Detroit."
Why not?
Well, you know what? That's the real challenge. If Brady was so good. Let him come to Detroit and win a Super Bowl. Then I'll say for sure, he's the best football player ever. I'll put him over Jerry Rice. I'll put him over Jim Brown. I'll put him over
Montana.
Oh, Montana, he's got Montana. I mean, I tried to hold on, but he's got Montana beat. He's the best quarterback, but best football player ever. I will put him over Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, guys, Lawrence Taylor, guys I hold above him. I'll do it if he wins the Super Bowl in Detroit. He goes to Detroit or the New York Jets and wins the Super Bowl. He is the GOAT football player of all time. That would be by far it.
I always root for the Lions because
we suck.
We just got our we just got our second Super Bowl and it's really exciting. Like I'm not trying to rub it in. I'm just saying it doesn't happen very often. And knowing what it's like to be, because I mean, before Tom Brady came along, we were one of the worst teams. We still hold the record for the one, the longest losing streak in NFL history, and two, the worst winning percentage in all of professional sports.
Which is amazing because as
Still
bad as
that
my
bad?
Lions have been, even going 0-16, we still have a higher winning percentage, which is shocking.
Yeah. Well, we've only been around since 1976, and we still, but the fact remains that we still have all these just years of terrible teams with like little bright spots in between. So I'm just trying to enjoy it while I can, because I'm worried that as soon as like Tom Brady leaves, it's back to being the sucking years.
Well, yeah, and you had those Gruden years, which were really bad.
Yeah. Well,
and that Super
it's
Bowl.
Gruden.
That Super Bowl, I don't count. That wasn't his team. That was Dungy's team. He stole Dungy's ring, so I don't count that under Gruden.
Yeah, I don't even like Gruden anymore for obvious reasons.
I didn't like him beforehand, but the recent news was not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, exactly. When they took him out of the Ring of Honor, I was like, I'm not gonna be mad at that.
Not mad at that at all.
About him. I can get down with that.
I mean, come on. Like, why did anybody trust him anyway? I mean, he looks like Chucky. So that all should have been a red flag. We should have listened
to Keyshawn Johnson. Who would have thought that we should have listened to Keyshawn Johnson this whole time?
Right. Who would have thought 20 years ago when Keyshawn Johnson was talking about this man that we should have given him some credence, like Keyshawn of all people. Oh, it's wonderful. I'm just going to pray and hope that we don't go 0-16 in Detroit. Unique DNA is also a Lions fan, so we cry on each other's shoulders every football season.
I hope you guys get a great quarterback in the draft, though. I hope you guys get a great quarterback who's the future of your franchise.
That would be wonderful, but our draft history isn't so hot.
Yeah, well.
I mean, when we're not taking wide receivers,
No, fair enough.
And yes, if anyone's listening, I still hate Matt Millen, just for FYI. I will always, God's probably be mad at me, and I'll have to answer for it at Judgment Day, but God knows I can't stand Matt Millen. Destroyed.
How do you feel about Calvin Johnson? You love him?
I love Megatron. Like, look, he left early. So did Barry Sanders. I could never be mad at Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders, I like him.
I can't be mad at them for leaving. And why would they stay when they're not getting any help? The last time we were in the playoffs, Barry Sanders led us to the NFC Championship game, and that's the closest we ever got to the Super Bowl when Washington with Mark Rippon and Art Monk, and guys, you probably too young to remember, beat us up pretty bad and got to the Super Bowl. And we had beaten the Cowboys in the first round, which was a beautiful game because Barry sliced them up. But we hadn't won in the playoffs since then, and we've only been to the playoffs like twice since then. And of course got screwed by the Cowboys that last time when we still had Sue in them. But I love Megatron. Megatron was a great player, a generational talent that we did not support enough. And, we should have traded him to New England and give him a chance to win on his way out. Was my thought. Send him away, get some picks, get some talent on defense, and let the man have a chance to win a ring, send him to a contender. That would have been the respectful thing to do, in my opinion. But they didn't want to do that, and they forced him to retire because they weren't going to part ways with him.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it probably won't. But in the opposite flip of that same coin, did you hear what Rob Gronkowski said about Detroit?
Oh, because they were going to trade him to Detroit, and he said he'd rather retire.
I know. He was like, "Oh, come on, Gronk, that's messed up."
I was not cool with that when Gronk said that. But see that the problem was the Fords, who are terrible owners, decided that just because they would hire a New England exec, that person, I forget his name, I think it was Bob Quinn. They thought Quinn could turn the Lions into New England 2.0. And I said, the only way you're going to get that is if you bring in either Belichick and or Brady or both. You're not going to get what they have in New England without those two, or at least one of those two. I didn't want Matt Patricia.
He was a great defensive mind with the Patriots.
Okay. Wait, that's true. Okay, but here's the thing. I pay attention to details. I paid attention to coaching trees. Bill Parcells has a great coaching tree. Belichick is part of that coaching tree. It has Sean Payton on it, Jim Fossil on it, Brian Billick's on it, Super Bowl appearing, Super Bowl winning coaches on that tree. You look at Bill Belichick's coaching tree, everybody sucks.
Except for Bill O'Brien. He has a winning record. Bill
O'Brien still sucks despite his winning record. Charlie Weiss, terrible. Romeo Crennel, terrible.
But what about his son? His son's got that sweet mullet.
And Vrabel's on the cusp of being potentially a good.
Is solid. I like
Vrabel's been decent, but he's only in year 3?
Something
maybe
like
year
that.
4?
Yeah.
Like Bill O'Brien had good years, but could they get it done?
No.
Nope. And none of his assistants can get it done as head coaches. They're great assistants. We saw it with what we saw with McDaniel and Josh McDaniels in Denver. Couldn't get it done as a head coach. Great coordinator, terrible head coach. Same with Patricia. Great coordinator, terrible head coach.
I would wonder, like, I don't know if these guys had this like role, but with like New England, Bill's both the head coach and the GM, so he makes all those players' decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he makes the personnel decisions.
Does that have anything to do with these coaches going to places not being able to work well with the GM because they didn't experience that in New England?
Sometimes, but I don't give that much credence because sometimes, yes, coaches and GMs will disagree on talent, but the media hypes up this coach versus GM thing because they need stories. Like you work for the same company. Your teammates, your job is to work together to put the best team on the field and coach the best team. So this on thing like, oh, this coach didn't really get much of a shot because the GM wasn't helpful to him. Most of the time, that's BS. Like the only time players really impact a coach is in the college ranks when you come in and you've got the previous guys as recruits and he runs a power I and you're a spread coach and you've got guys who don't have the skill set you need and you can't just go get new players to be ready to play right away.
Listen, as a Bucks fan, I beg to differ. Did you see Tom Brady get his AB? And I'll tell you what, Jason Light, our GM, is a magician. Because I don't know, he keeps creating cap space out of thin air to grab people.
Pay Sue nothing to stay.
I know. That's why when you said Sue earlier, I'm like, I don't know anything about that either. I don't know.
yeah. Well, at least I don't feel bad about that because you don't have prime Sue. Like,
that's true.
So I'm not that mad about that. But
yeah, he's more of a role player. But I get you.
Yeah, I mean the Rams got the last bit of prime. The Dolphins got the last bit of prime Sue, and he couldn't do anything there. So I'm not Sue's. He was on decline when he left Detroit. So I was like, okay, cool. He can go. He wasn't worth the money he was asking. As much as I liked him, he wasn't worth the money. But
yeah, he was meanest and leanest in Detroit for sure.
Yeah. So just my team's terrible. I just hope that we win. I was predicted we win 2 games. They predicted we're going to go 0-16 again. And
I think you guys are going to beat the Bears, and then a few weeks later, you're probably going to beat the Falcons. I'll give you those are the 2 I see on the schedule.
Please beat the Falcons. Go for it. I would love that. That would make me happy.
The thing is, we've only been blown out once. Like every other game, we've lost by like 3 or 4.
Know.
Like each game except for one has been close. But yet we're still 0-9. Which unfortunately happened the 0-16 year, so it's not exactly a good omen.
Do you think it's Goff?
Goff is part of the problem because I personally thought we should have moved on from Matt Stafford 3 years ago, and not because Stafford isn't good, but because I knew we needed to rebuild. We weren't going anywhere.
Culture change.
Not even culture, because Matt Stafford, he's got great attitude. He's got great drive. He doesn't quit. And the guy has the most fourth quarter comebacks of like his time. Like the past 10 years, he's got the most fourth quarter comebacks. Like he's a gamer. But I knew we weren't going anywhere. And to rebuild, you need pieces and you need draft picks. And while Matt Stafford still had a lot of value trade-wise and wasn't 30 years old and didn't have back problems like he does now before we got rid of him, we should have moved on him. The year Jacksonville made it to the AFC Championship game, and all they needed was a quarterback. And so that was like 2017, 2016.
With the UCF quarterback, Blake Bortles.
Yeah,
baby.
what do you got against Blake Bortles?
Yeah,
They haven't been back to the AFC
said,
Championship since they let him go. So
right.
Orlando folk, we love UCF players in the NFL. Let's go.
So I said the Lions need to trade Stafford to Jacksonville for a bunch of future draft picks and maybe a defensive player they can spare and start the rebuild, because that team was a quarterback away from beating New England and going to the Super Bowl.
Imagine
I think they would have won it if they had a quarterback.
Imagine having if you guys had picked up Ramsey and then had Slay like that. I mean,
yeah,
nasty.
Yep,
absolutely. So, I mean,
in an alternate universe, the Lions are a Super Bowl team.
Yeah,
exactly. But but you know what? As a Detroit fan, I can't complain that much, because in my lifetime, I have watched my Detroit Tigers win the World Series. I've watched my Pistons win all 3 of their NBA championships, and I've watched the Red Wings win a whole bunch of cups. Yeah. So 3 out of 4 is and as a WNBA fan, I watched the Detroit Shock win a couple of championships too. So I can't complain. I watched the Wolverines win a national championship. I watched Michigan State win the NCAA men's basketball championship. I have celebrated a lot of sports victories in my time. I just probably will die without seeing the Lions win a Super Bowl.
No, the law of averages. I mean, that's what I like. That's what I get excited about. Like, I'm enjoying my time right now because the Buccaneers are good right now, and they probably will have another time where they're just terrible. So I'm trying to enjoy it right now because I know that as soon as it doesn't happen anymore, like it's all gonna drop and fall apart. So I'm just trying to enjoy what I can, because I know what it's like, because that's the way the Bucs have been for the last 13 years. But like eventually, and I'm going to be so excited when this happens, eventually the Lions in our lifetime have to win. I mean, you say that, Neff, and I want to believe it, but there's
to believe.
There's 2 things, right? I feel like singing the Kurt Franklin song. Two things are against you on that, because especially it only happens in the world of sports, but 2 franchises would disagree with you on that, and that's the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs, because they had fans born and die between that 86 years it took for Boston to win, who never saw their team win a World Series, and Cubs fans 102 years went between World Series championships. A lot of people born and died Cubs fans who never saw that team win a World Series. So unfortunately, my Lions are like that level of just terrible luck on top of having terrible teams. Like it.
If it makes you feel any better, I have the basketball equivalent in the Orlando Magic. We've come so close.
But you've made it there. But you've gotten to the finals.
Oh, that's
twice.
true.
We've never even made a Super Bowl.
I forgot. I've read the Lions haven't. Oh, that man.
We've never even
Lions,
made it
Jacksonville, and Houston and Browns. Right, the only 4 teams haven't made it to the Super Bowl.
Man.
No, the Jacksonville and Houston barely count because they came in during the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
now he's from Jacksonville in 2005.
They're still expansion
right?
teams. Yeah. They're still babies on the block. Like, they barely count.
It took the Bucs almost 30 years to get to their first Super Bowl. So.
Right. And then, but they had an appearance. Before they won, they at least had an appearance. We haven't even appeared.
Yeah.
NFC Championship game was the closest we've got to even appearing, and we had no shot at winning that game because Washington was a complete team, and we need Barry Sanders to run break 800 tackles and run for 500 yards to win this football game.
Mark's over here like I
don't know what
can't
that.
say-
I don't know. What
Well,
that's
Mark
like.
is breathing and on his 5 Super Bowl rings for his Patriots is like,
6.
I don't know about all that losing
6.
stuff.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, 6 rings.
Losing isn't a thing in my family.
Listen, Matt. Listen. Sick the Detroit Lions on him. Bite his kneecaps off.
Well, I don't think we have enough bite, and our coach be crying after the games. I don't know if y'all saw that.
No.
No, I
what
did
did-
not see that.
what
You
is
didn't
he
see
do?
Dan
What is
Campbell
he?
crying?
No, he didn't
Yes.
seem like the guy that'd be crying. Oh my gosh.
He was balling. It was like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. We lost a nail biter, and he was crying in the post conference because the press conference he's like, these guys, they try so hard and they're working so hard, and just to lose like this because we lost. It was Justin
He's about
Tucker
to get
kicked that like
Oh yeah, that one.
Tucker kicked like
Oh,
that
yeah.
80-yard field goal and
The
beat us.
record.
Yeah, and I'm like, of course, they beat us with this longest field goal in history.
Listen, he's
And-
crying
and-
because he's about to get fired.
well,
Well,
anyone
I mean,
that takes that job should not buy a house because
In
you're
Detroit.
not
You can
going to
always-
be there long.
Maybe one day, hopefully no time soon, because I really like him as our coordinator. You could always get a Todd Bowles. Maybe he'll be good by the time he becomes a head coach again.
I don't.
I'm gonna top that. You get Coach Brown from the Netflix series.
Or you can always get Kellen Moore
You know,
from the
if we're gonna
Cowboys.
take from TV, then you've got to give me Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. He's the only one that
Well,
can get it done.
Coach Brown's a real person though, who actually, from what's
Yeah,
that
but
show called?
I don't need real people. I need magic.
Oh, okay.
I
You
need
want
Eric
fiction? Okay,
Taylor.
you're right.
I need
you're right.
clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Yep.
That's what I need.
Adam Sandler from The Longest Yard.
Yep.
Well, no. I need Adam
Bobby
Sandler
Boucher.
from Waterboy on my
Oh, there
defense.
you go.
That's what I need.
Henry Winkler could be,
Yeah,
could be your coach.
Let's assemble a fantasy
give me
coaching staff.
Give me Bobby Boucher to lead my defense, and I'll be all right.
Oh man.
Oh
That's
Lord.
great.
Anyway, moving off the gridiron. I'm surprised we stayed there so long. If you had to choose, this is questions for both of you. If you had to choose between Marvel or DC, and you can't touch either property ever again, which one you
DC.
pick? Oh, definitely
DC.
DC. No hesitation.
DC.
The man said
There
DC.
ain't-
No hesitation. Explain
I
the no
can't-
hesitation.
I can't not this. DC is my favorite by like easily. I'm literally surrounded by like Green Lantern action figures right now where I'm at, and in my room I have a Justice League poster up over my bed right now. I mean, DC is my jam. I have comic book boxes full of DC content, and not that I don't like Marvel. I love the movies. I love the characters. I love Black Panther is one of my favorite comic book characters, period. But DC, their stories are just so much fun to read and so interesting, and their writers are so clever, and I just really enjoy their content. And it's a little bit, it can be a little bit darker than the Marvel content sometimes, and the art style is like most of the time is so grounded. And I find Marvel art seems to, it takes a little more artistic liberties. And I don't, not that I'm against that, but I really enjoy just like the Ivan Rice type artwork or the Greg Capullo artwork. I really enjoy those types of styles that are very grounded. And it just looks great. Characters are fun, and the storylines, the crossovers, it's like when you jump into one of the Justice League comics, it's like these characters have been together for years, instead of rebooted for years. Even though they have been rebooted, the Marvel universe is just so hard to jump into because even when they reboot it, it's all the backstory from all like 60, 70, 80 years or so of content. It all still counts. Whereas with DC, you can get a clean slate, a clean start. And if you know some stuff from the past, that helps you out. And you get it's like seeing a reboot, you see a character, you're like, cool. It's the rebooted version of this person. I like the new 52, but I'm in the minority on that, but I don't know.
But aren't we on the 52nd new 52?
Yeah, no kidding, right? uh but then you get characters like you get the Milestone universe, and you got like Static Shock and Icon and Hardware and all of them. Like they have different branches.
You see,
You get
but you
the
know what? I don't consider Milestone stuff DC. To me, Milestone is Milestone.
okay, that's I get
Like
that.
I know
get
they
that.
own it, and it's cool to own that property, but just like how Disney owns The Simpsons, that's a Fox property. Like
Yeah.
no one looks at that and says, "Oh, look, Disney's Simpsons." No one thinks that.
Well, I guess
Like,
it's because I grew up with Static Shock, the TV show, more than the comic. I didn't grow up
okay,
reading comics. So for me, he was doing crossovers with Batman
right.
and stuff like that. So for me, he was always a DC character. And then he like showed up in like Justice League Unlimited, I think.
That makes
Uh,
sense because of that correlation. I got you now. Okay, I'll count Static. That makes a lot of sense because
so
of
like,
that. Absolutely.
yeah. So like the diversity, I mean, Green Lantern is like the epitome of diverse characters. You have Hal Jordan, you have Guy Gardner, and then you got Jon Stewart, and then Kyle Rayner, and Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, and they're all different, like racially, ethnically.
How you gonna leave out Kilowog? Like he's Kilowog, man.
He's the most, and then you got a sentient planet. I mean,
Yeah.
Mogo, my dude. It's just like, I don't know, like you have all these different characters. They didn't have to race bend characters. They created all new characters, and they made all these amazing characters for everybody to enjoy. And I love that everybody can see themselves in the DC characters.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. That's they are really diverse there. I'm a DC fan. I can't knock that. Mark, what about you? If you had to choose,
I mean, I would have to go DC. I've been a big DC fan my whole life. The only thing that like really kept me, if I could like break it down, is Marvel live action has just been off the chart. But then everything else I give to DC. Like the thing I could praise in the last like 10 years is like their arc with their animated series, starting off with the Flashpoint Paradox, and then tying it, putting the cherry on top with what was the last Justice League or Dark Justice League with Darkseid and
Apocalypse War.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's we got what 14 movies there that I feel like if it was live action would have toppled the MCU for box office, but I mean, just,
but then they would have screwed up the casting, and then it would have been trash.
Yeah, I mean,
and
once
it would
it
have
goes
been
into
all
WB's,
sepia tone and too dark to see.
Listen, I would have liked Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman. I'm in for that.
Yeah, we're all good.
Can you imagine the riots we would have seen if they had Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman? People would have lost.
She would have been perfect 10 years ago, like just the prime age, and then it would have been great.
She's already a night nurse.
Yeah,
yes.
And I think isn't she being cast as a different character in another Marvel movie? I've heard.
I think so,
because they're not really. They're like retconning that the Netflix Marvel stuff may or may not have happened, but who knows?
It makes no sense why. Well, I don't understand why they would do that, but I understand redoing Iron Fist because that was hot garbage. But everything else was solid enough to keep. But
see, the thing I don't like about that is because I loved Luke Cage so much, I want Michael Coulter to be in the MCU so bad.
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
That basically I'm sure we all can agree every other show, Jessica Jones and even Daredevil, just were way better. Cox, and it was Iron. Yeah.
Matthew Cox is rumored to be very much rumored.
Yeah, in
all
the
speculation
Spider-Man movie.
In the new Spider-Man movie. So I'd be down for that. So maybe if they bring him in, they can get Luke Cage in there too. I would be so pumped.
That would be a great way to pull them in because we obviously know how they're pulling, Doc Ock in from the Sony side and such. So
when the new poster,
I saw. Well, I went to see My Hero Academia yesterday, and I hadn't even seen the trailer because like trailers nowadays they show way too much and they spoil too much of the movie. So I was trying to stay away from Spider-Man. And so I saw the trailer because I'm sitting there with my kids and a whole bunch of popcorn and it's right in front of me. So I watch it and I'm like, you just showed me the whole movie now. Like, like I understand teasing the reveal, but like why would or even teasing Green Goblin, but when I hear Willem Dafoe's voice and I see a pumpkin bomb, I mean I see one of the green bombs thrown in. I'm like, well,
I think it's their pumpkin bomb.
Yeah, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm like,
quotation marks pumpkin bomb.
Yeah, quotation marks pumpkin bomb. I'm like, you're telling me he's in it, or you're telling me that he's going to be in it, but he's not going to be Green Goblin for some reason. He'll be Hobgoblin or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
But you're telling me he's in it, and that's telling me too much.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been a cool reveal to just know. Like, that's why I've been staying away from like Ghostbusters Afterlife trailers. Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time.
Wow.
If anybody didn't know. So for me,
now we know.
Like that's
Now everyone knows.
No, my secret's out. But I've been staying away from Ghostbusters Afterlife trailers. They've been dropping like 3 or 4 of them in the last like week or two. So I'm like, I'm trying to stay away until the movie comes out like in a week or so.
See, having said that though, I went to Eternals last Friday and they had the new Ghostbusters trailer in there. And the previous one, I was like, I don't know if I want to see this in theaters. But so coming back to trailer, like some people might say it was too, like they showed too much, but made me someone who's on the fence now want to see it in theaters. So,
Oh, fair enough.
Some credence to trailers.
I saw they showed that trailer. I don't know if it was new, but they showed that trailer yesterday too. And I want to see it. I just wish there was one additional wrinkle, which I doubt is going to be in the movie. But since we know Harold Ramis passed, unfortunately, I was hoping that they would tie Eddie Murphy in, since he was supposed to be the original 4th Doctor and 4th Ghostbuster. That since Spengler's dead, it would be cool for this if they pulled Eddie in to be his replacement, because he ended up having studied the same disciplines. And they need to pull, another one of these original Ghostbusters in to help these new ones. So you kind of get a new old Ghostbuster in there in a supporting role, and you got what fans have wanted for 30 plus years in seeing Eddie Murphy in the Ghostbusters universe.
We love.
I didn't even know that, but now I'm expecting that to happen when I go to the theater.
He's in.
My expectations too high.
He's in the one shot.
Yeah.
From Ghostbusters 1, he's in the one shot.
Yep.
That they for some reason never took out. And Ron Jeremy is in like that same shot too.
Oh yeah.
This is great. So like it would just be cool, and that's my wishful thinking, and it would make the movie a ton of money, just because people would go just for that. But I digress. Next, keeping it rolling, Mark, give me your favorite Star Wars character.
I am going to give it to the Jeek Nation, and some people probably won't even know who I'm talking about.
Oh, we going obscure. I mean, I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
This person is in one of the movies, so he's got screen time. But my favorite character from the Star Wars universe is Dengar, who is a bounty hunter that you see in Empire Strikes Back in like the rogues galleries of bounty hunters. Darth Vader wants them to go find Han Solo and stuff. So he's always been a favorite of mine. I have pretty much every book, back in the day before the prequels and sequels came out. They used to make all these canon books that some of them aren't canon anymore, and anyone that had Dengar in it, I had it. So
is that the lizard guy?
Nope, Dengar's the white dude with he's like an android, and he has the white cloth garb and gray armor plating. He has the super long rifle.
That sounds dope.
Because in one of the books, I think it's called The Bounty Hunter Wars, just remembered off the top of my head, he actually saves Boba Fett from the Sarlacc pit.
What?
So that was canon at one point. So that'd be interesting when they do the Book of Boba Fett if they ever bring that back.
Which they should, but we'll see what happens.
So that's gotten me excited that Dengar might be in the book Boba Fett, either in they do flashback scenes or current stuff. So
I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
Nice. What about you, Neff? Favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, this was tough because my favorite Star Wars movie is Episode 3. That was my favorite. So it was tough for me to pick between Anakin or General Grievous, because General Grievous has the coolest, in my opinion, has one of the coolest looks. And if you've watched the 2D animated Clone Wars miniseries, which was coming out when the movies were coming out, it's kind of like a connector between episode 2 leading up to episode 3. Before the 3D animated Clone Wars series, of course. It was animated by the guys who did Samurai Jack, and they made General Grievous bad to the bone. Like, this man was taking out Jedis left and right, and like he was bouncing on like one leg, fighting all of them. Like, he was in the dark, and it even shows Mace Windu is the reason why he has like the cough. Is like Mace Windu crushed his rib cage when he was taking the Chancellor off planet. So it was. I mean, he's just such a cool character. I love his design. I up to that point, I had never seen any character that could wield 4 lightsabers, and the fact that he was able to take down so many Jedi, including Masters, like, he's underrated. I mean, obviously, like, he's a coward and stuff like that, but like underrated as a duelist, as a I guess saber man,
saber duelist, duelist. Yeah.
So like,
I agree with that. Grievous and Darth Maul, in my opinion, are the 2 best developed characters from the prequels, and they have the coolest looks.
Yes, 100%.
And except for the final fight scene with Maul, they're both like very overpowered. They're both pretty OP, and like reality, how can you really stop these guys? Like,
Grievous isn't even force sensitive. Like, he can't even use the force.
Right. And also they also showed us something we hadn't seen before. We had never seen a dual bladed lightsaber before, and then we never saw 4 lightsabers being wielded at once. So they broke a whole bunch of molds and looked really cool doing it.
Yeah, and I really struggle because like he's great, like as far as look and just being a cool character. But then Anakin Skywalker in episode 3 is also like the most tragic character ever. I still, to this day, and any movie maybe I could get past it, but this particular movie, this particular scene where Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan are fighting, I mean, I can't show it to you guys, but at the monitor that while we're recording the Zoom meeting, I'm watching the Zoom meeting on. Next to my monitor on either side, I actually have little statues of Anakin Skywalker on one side and Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Mustafar battle. Like, they're just on opposite sides fighting each other, and that scene still makes me cry. Like when he says, "You're my brother, Anakin." Like, Anakin Skywalker has one of the most tragic and just intense like story arcs. I mean, even through Darth Vader, like especially from what the Clone Wars has shown us. I haven't finished it, but I've seen like stuff from Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that. I like I said, I haven't watched it, so don't spoil it yet. But I'm just saying, like, they show more stuff with that, and it's heartbreaking every time. And I think story-wise, Anakin is by far my favorite character.
It's hard to disagree with that. Unfortunately, you had to deal with Hayden Christensen and his whining about sand to ruin the greatness that the character is.
Yeah, we don't talk about episode 2. Except for Jango Fett looking awesome.
Sand. I hate sand. Now, granted, I agree with him on sand. I can't stand it. I don't like the way it feels on my feet. I don't like how coarse it is. I don't like sand at all. But I don't whine the way he does about sand. I'm a man about it.
I'm from Florida. Sand is all around us. We had nothing but sand.
Nothing but sand.
What about you? What about you? Who's your favorite?
Me? My favorite character is I guess he's gonna be canon. I think he's officially canon now, but my favorite Star Wars character is someone you haven't seen on screen, and that is Darth Revan.
Oh, yes.
Revan is by far my favorite Star Wars character. I love the story of Revan, pre-redemption, post-redemption. I am extremely excited for the Knights of the Old Republic remake that's going to be on PS5. Now, I'm extremely excited, but I'm also I have a bit of trepidation because to me, it'll be perfect if they give me new graphics. They can give me a new battle system. I'm okay with that too. But if they change a single voice actor, if they change a voice response option, if they change any part of the story, I'm going to lose my mind because no part of that story needs to be changed. They just need to give me better graphics. I'm okay with keeping the same fight system. They can replicate it. If they give me something new, I'm okay with that. And then they need to finish the swoop bike part because they never finished the swoop racing portion in the original game. So if they can actually make that be a viable part of the game, that would be cool. And I can actually have, my swoop bike and upgrade it and such like they were supposed to be able to do. And, earn extra credits and stuff that way. Those are the three things I want. But if they screw up that story,
yeah,
it'll kill me.
Revan's a cool character. I love his design. It's very like an early look of like Kylo Ren. It almost has like that look, but he was obviously there way before Kylo Ren, so it makes Kylo almost not like a knockoff. But
Kylo looks like a blend between Revan and Vader.
Yes, I agree, and that's why I think Revan. He's just a cool character. Like I don't know too much about him, but I've like watched videos on him and stuff. And his design is slick. He's so like mysterious. He's just a cool character.
Very, very cool character. So that's by far is Darth Revan for me. And if I had to choose between Marvel and DC, I would choose Marvel because I grew up on more Marvel first, as well as the brightness and the colors and the Marvel had dark, but it was also they had more fun. Where growing up in the 80s, DC was majority of DC stuff was all dark. So Marvel had balance where DC wasn't balanced. DC opened me to a whole bunch of adult stuff. Like I shouldn't, I shouldn't have been reading Watchmen at, 1989. I shouldn't have been reading that book. But it was a comic book. My parents didn't realize what was going on in this graphic novel. But Spider-Man was, Spider-Man was one of my favorites, and I loved X-Men, and also politically, or I don't want to say politically, but socially, Marvel had just a ton of messages that just reverberated with me in my life and my experiences. So I was a big fan of that. The only thing I really didn't like about Marvel, when we mentioned previously, like with like Luke Cage and stuff, was that their black characters were just not dressed in like clothes that black people would actually wear. Like black,
like Luke don't wear like big yellow shirts,
big yellow shirts, and even Falcon's costume. I'm like, no brother was going to dress himself up like that. Yeah. Like his Falcon suit would have been a lot different if he designed it. I'm like, this. Nah, like
at least Black Panthers always look pretty cool.
Black Panthers always look cool. He's the only one who's had consistently a good look. But even Storm, her looks, were either great or goofy. It's just so it's like just black folks' fashion sense in general would not have us looking like that. It's just no. And DC's worse on that because Black Vulcan looked a hot mess.
Fair.
They had their black characters, except for John
Mr.
Stewart.
Terrific.
Mr. Terrific. They just had their black characters. And that still just looks so silly to me.
His jacket's dope though.
The jacket is dope. That's true. That jacket is a good look, but I
never got the big T on his face though. I never got why that was the thing. I thought that was ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. But we're so used to it now. If they change it, we would be like, no, because we're so used to it now. But it is ridiculous. The man does not need to have a T drawn on his face.
Exactly. He's basically the Reed Richards of the DC universe. So I don't get why he's
Yes.
being,
Why? Yeah. Why? Yeah. It took us
let him have
until
a
like
face.
it took until like Blue Marvel to really get a good looking, reasonable character suit, like from the jump. Like everyone else's suits have just been just so bad. Just
I like when they redid Jon Stewart's costume, because at first he was just wearing the regular Green
the
Lantern
regular
costume.
GL costume. Yeah.
But then when they redesigned him, he had like the all black costume, like the little green at top. Like that's a clean look. I think that really suits him nicely.
Yes, and it suited his his sniper personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was fantastic. All right, next question. This one I'm interested in. If you had to live in a video game city, which one would you pick and why?
Okay. If we were going to live in it, do we get to be the main character of the video game, or is it
you can be anybody in the game. You can be a NPC, you can be a main character. You just have to live in a video game city.
I would want to be in the Spider-Man New York City as Spider-Man. I think that'd be the coolest thing. Every time I play that game, I'm swinging through the city and I'm just like, oh, can you just imagine being there and I just want to go to New York City, to be honest with you. It's what it comes down to.
What it comes down to is Neff wants to go to NYC. That's really what it is. We have to make that happen.
Let's get the GoFundMe going.
Yes, let's get the GoFundMe going. Send Neff to NYC. I'm gonna say that's a cool choice. However, if I was you, I would not pick being Spider-Man, because you're picking a very terrible life.
That's a good point.
That's like, as much as I love Spider-Man, he's my favorite Marvel character, probably my favorite superhero of all superheroes. His life sucks.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say Miles, but even Miles goes through a lot.
Yeah, his life isn't a whole lot better. It's not as bad as Peter Parker's.
No.
But that's a rough life.
Yeah.
Great city, rough life.
Yeah. Well, it's New York, baby.
Mark, give me your video game city you're gonna live in. I'm gonna live in Rhyme City from Detective Pikachu, and I'm just gonna be a Pokemon trainer living the best life in Rhyme City. I don't want any baggage Spider-Man comes with. I'm just gonna be a dude and his Bulbasaur, just trolling, fighting, collecting it all.
I love it. That's a fantastic, safe, and fun pick, because Rhyme City is pretty dope of a city. When there's not purple gas trying to infect everybody, the place is pretty cool.
If the purple gas is going to turn me into a Pokemon, so be it. Then I'm just living even a better life. So,
But then you got the creepy ditto-looking people, the dittos that turn into people. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
Those are good choices.
It just comes with it. Just like if you're just a regular person living in a Spider-Man New York City, sometimes Doc Ock is going to throw your car and you're at the call insurance company and just tell them what happened.
You're not covered, but I got the premium.
But I got the premium. What happened, Mr. Neff, is that your premium covers bombs from Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, and being turned invisible by Mysterio. It does not cover technicals from Doc Ock. It does not cover rhino horns from Rhino, or lizard tail slashes from the lizard. That is an additional premium.
Oh, that's what I want now. A comic book of Marvel Insurance Company trying to sell insurance for villain type damages.
That needs to be. We need to do that. We need to get back on here. We all pretend to be insurance carriers, New York. I can't say New York license. It's a real company, but some New York insurance company, and we will take calls for people's Marvel disasters to their cars and their homes. That is perfect.
And we have all the insurance levels already lamed out. We got friendly neighborhood, amazing, spectacular, superior, and then of course
and web of. We can't forget web of.
Web of. Well, that's the
your web of
policy.
package doesn't cover this. It
Yeah,
only
just
covers
like
the tax
use the
from
term
Silver
umbrella
Main.
package. It's a web of package.
Web of sounds like the lowest package and only protects you from venom.
Yeah, exactly. Only Venom is covered by the web of package. You need the
Or
spectacular.
Shocker.
Yeah,
The Shocker.
If
the
Shocker's
worst.
the villain in your neighborhood, this is the perfect insurance for you.
right. Shocker, like people like no one cares about Shocker, Electro. Like no one cares about those villains. Those are all small time villains. Silver Mane, no one cares about them. Yeah, that gets you. Those are the web of that's the web of insurance plan. I guess I'll go since you guys. I was trying to be slick and be forgotten. This is kind of like it's not an obscure pick, but the city is absolutely gorgeous. I would pick living there before it gets destroyed in the game in the timeline, but I would pick Insomnia from Final Fantasy 15.
Huh.
Because you've got a gorgeous city protected by a wall of magic with a pretty cool king in Sean Bean, which we know eventually means he's going to die soon. But you've got a cool king with magic. You've got magic, plus you've got current technology. Audi exists in this world. So does Cup of Noodle. So does Coca-Cola. So like everyone drives really dope cars. You have this magic world with all this cool technology. And it's an absolutely gorgeous
California
city.
at this point.
But without the fault line, so I'm okay.
Oh yeah, fair enough. And it's protected by magic, and
yes, and it's protected by magic. So I go with Insomnia because it is absolutely, especially if you've ever watched the Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15 movie. If you haven't, it's on Netflix. That city, the City of Insomnia, it's like a jewel. It's absolutely beautiful. You don't see a whole lot of it in its glory in Final Fantasy 15 because that's post it being destroyed. But Insomnia in its glory is absolutely fantastic, and that's where I would want to live.
That's a great answer. That is a great answer.
All right, next question. I'm going to start with you, Neff, because I know Mark has two answers to this next question. So, Neff, I asked for you to create a wrestling super stable of 5 wrestlers at the max and 1 manager, which is optional. Now, I didn't preface, current or past. So if you haven't formulated all of it, it is wrestlers of all time. So it can be a mix of past and current, or all past, all current, whatever your heart's desire.
And it can be in their prime.
Yes, obviously we don't want somebody not in their prime.
So this is me saying all these people in their prime.
Okay.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready. Let's see it.
This is who I think it would be the cream of the crop, and just I think they cover all the bases too. First of all, you gotta get The Rock.
Okay.
I mean, The Rock, I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time, if not the prime Undertaker. I mean, the big man. You gotta have a big man.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels.
Oh, he's the GOAT.
The GOAT, or in my opinion, this next person's the GOAT.
Okay.
Chris Jericho.
He's in the conversation. Okay.
Chris Jericho's definitely, he's the GOAT in my opinion. And then to bring somebody newer in who's a little more versatile, who can move around a little bit more, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is he's amazing. And they're all of them, all 5 of them are great on the mic. So it was hard for me to find a manager for them. But you got to go with, Paul Heyman, man. I'm a Heyman guy. He's so entertaining. He's so money and all these guys are money on the mic. I mean, The Rock, obviously, he's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Taker, he's so intimidating on the mic. Omega, he can make the best promos. Y2J is the demo god, and Shawn Michaels, I mean, he's the Heartbreak Kid. He's got it all.
Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. Shawn Michaels doesn't lay down for anybody.
He thinks he's cute and he knows he's sexy.
That's right. And he sings his own theme song. Like,
I know it doesn't get better than that. So those are my 5, and Heyman to round it off. I think he's the perfect manager for the the stable.
I like that. I was a little iffy because of the fact that HBK, Jericho, and Omega are all so similar, but they're all so amazing. And you've got your big guy, you've got The Rock, who's bigger but not a smaller guy.
Yeah, he's your prime player.
You've got balance. So, follow-up question that I didn't tell you on here. I try to be a little sneaky like the Infinity Bros do. So with your stable, who is your main event world champion? Who is your mid-card champion? Who is your tag team?
Before you answer that, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I already have that set up for all my people. So
Stop reading my mind, Mark.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be a question asked because I got to have it just planned out just right.
Well, this is tough. Okay.
You've got 5 champions, multiple time world champions. The first Grand Slam champion in there.
Yeah.
Everybody but Omega's a Grand Slam champion. So he never worked for WWE. But, you're talking about a guy who was IWGP champion, current AEW champion.
Well, he was at one point, he was
and Impact champion.
AAA, Impact, and AEW World Champion all at the same time.
The belt collector, exactly.
Belt collector. So, okay. So here's what I think I'm gonna do. Because Michaels and Jericho have such good chemistry, both on the mic, but just they like kind of work together a lot, like backstage. I mean, they had that whole storyline after WrestleMania 24. All that stuff. I think those two would be a great tag team. So those would be my tag team champions for sure. Kenny Omega, I think, is going to be my mid card champion for sure. What was the other ones you said? You said
then your main event, your heavyweight champion of the world. Is it going to be Rock or is it going to be Taker?
What happens to the other guy?
The other guy. He's a part of the stable. He's muscle. He's
okay. Then The Rock is definitely going to be the main event guy because Taker has the streak because I'm talking prime Taker. So we're getting Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, all that junk. We're doing prime Taker. He still has the streak, and then Rock will be our champion. So I think with that, that all kind of works itself out perfectly.
I like it. Like it. Okay.
Ooh.
Great.
I don't know if I have a name. I'll come up with a name in the next couple minutes.
Think of a name while Mark Jones shares us with the homework he did because he went on.
Yep.
He went in on this one.
I did my homework for this. I stayed up all night, didn't sleep. This is all I did all day. All right, so I made 2 lists because I wasn't sure, and I love wrestling, so like it was easy. I made a current list from current wrestlers and like in their ages now, and then an all-time list, but my all-time is like an alternate universe list of a certain era, but we'll start with my current list. My current stable includes Seth Rollins, Keith Lee, The Butcher from AEW, Kylie Ray, and then Chris Statlander. And then our manager,
two women.
Our manager would be pulled out of retirement, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What?
He is coming to manage this stable called the Foundation. So there you go.
Wow,
and we are going company to company, wreaking havoc. We are like the new NWO, but we intersect every promotion there is.
You said The Butcher, man?
The Butcher.
Wow. I mean, that's a great team. Yeah. I was going for like the cheap shots, the easy fights, but that's a great, well put together team. I would watch that.
We got Seth Rollins.
So who? Okay.
Yeah.
So before you give me your champions, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm just taken aback with this. With this put together the Foundation, as we've already dubbed them. Does this mean that Smiley Kylie has a changing gimmick?
I guess I didn't go that deep, man.
Because I'm saying I can see how Rollins and Lee fit together. I can see how the Butcher fits, and even Statlander, and then Austin as the mouthpiece. But Smiley Kylie her gimmick stands out for me as far as not meshing with those others.
Now being asked that question, this is how I would see this happening. We have the 4 of them already put together,
Mm-hmm.
and then let's say Smiley Kylie gets like betrayed by whoever she's with, and the foundation is what brings her up, and she then, evolves into a different character that kind of fits into the foundation, whatever that might be.
That's dope.
What? Oh, you know what? I've got. So so the foundation was feuding with Neff's group. HBK stole Kylie's smile, and the foundation brought it back.
Perfect storyline.
It just makes sense. I mean, it's poetry. It's like George Lucas. It's poetry. It rhymes.
Okay, give me the breakdown as far as who's champ, mid card, and tag.
Yep. Tag team, obviously, I'm going with Kylie Ray and Kristen Statlander because that's the bigger thing nowadays. Women's tag team. Main event, Seth Rollins, and then my Butcher is my muscle. So then Keith Lee is my mid card guy.
Okay.
And eventually Keith Lee betrays us all, and then he moves on and becomes a main eventer. Just how everything always happens in wrestling.
Oh, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
I like it. Okay. So then you've got your
second list.
Your alternate universe second list.
Yeah.
I knew you were saying.
So this is my list if people were still alive and we're in the same company together. And I'm going circa like 96 to like 98 between that time. Like this is what I want for these people.
Okay.
So let's say Bruiser Brody never gets killed in Puerto Rico. He is part of this stable.
Wow.
We got Mark Morrow post Johnny B. Bad. So we got either
Wild Man.
I would go. I like the Wild Man like persona where he was more high flying, but I kind of like the look when he was with Sable with the boxer look. That's what
Marvelous Mark Morrow.
Yeah, Marvelous Mark Morrow is kind of like the look I want with this one. So that's why I'd say like, and then we got Booker T, Ultimo Dragon, and RVD.
Ultimo Dragon and RVD.
Yep. And then our manager is Sherry Martel.
Sensational Sherry.
Wow.
So that is this group. And I couldn't figure out a name for it. So that one can be up for Jeek Nation, the name that stable. But yeah, we got Bruiser Brody, who would be in his 50s at this point. So he's our muscle, but he's still a big imposing dude. I'd probably go tag team RVD Ultimo Dragon, just a high flying, like they would be doing stuff no one has seen before.
Oh yeah.
And then our mid card guys, we could be taked, like do like a British Bulldog Owen Hart type of thing, be the tag team champs, and then the mid card champs. So Mark Morrow and Booker T.
Wow. Okay, so you would do wait. So if RV,
my bad. Yeah.
And Ultimate Dragon, you're gonna be your tag team.
Sorry, I said that.
Yeah. Mark Morrow's your mid card, and Booker T's your world champion.
Booker T's my champion. Yep.
And
There it is.
Sherry Martel is the manager.
Is the one talking them all up. Because if you think about
we saw Sherry with Booker and
Booker
Stevie
T.
Ray
Yep,
with the Harlem Heat. So I can see that.
And in this time, Booker T hasn't gotten his voice yet, like he does when he gets into the WWE. And RVD could probably talk at this time, but I think Sherry'd probably be perfect for all these guys at this time.
But so if you're putting them into the 90s, then yeah, because Ultimo Dragon doesn't talk. The only one who talked was Mero, and he wasn't a great promo, but he was
he could be serviceable on the mic.
He could be serviceable. Yeah. So yeah. And RVD, he would say, he would talk a little bit, but he's RVD. He's just, yeah, man. He's just, he's just
and I would
chilling.
want Bruiser Brody never to talk. I just want him to act like an animal the whole time, just like
standing there with a
crazy
big
and
monster,
wild.
crazy looking hillbilly.
Yeah, with his chain and just swinging that around. Yeah,
I love it.
So yeah, there's my alternate universe stable.
I'm impressed with all these stables. These are fantastic choices. Wow.
I've been trying to find a name for I can't find it, a good name. There's so all I could think of was the Sinister Six.
It probably work out for those guys.
Someone else for you to fight as Spider-Man if you're living in New York.
Exactly. There you go. Maybe like the superiority or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. The superiority. because everybody in that group has a superiority complex.
Pretty much, right? Wow. I like it.
Yeah.
I like
brought the
that a
heat.
lot.
Mark brought the heat with some deep cuts. I
He
love
man,
sure
you
did.
You asked me with the wrestling question. I'm gonna deliver.
I loved it. Yeah, I tell you what, wrestling, it's been tough because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
But here in Florida, I mean, where anything goes, there is no pandemic. What? Huh? They had AEW events in Jacksonville, and I tell you what, I went to a couple during the pandemic. Nice to have all that leg room from the social distancing. And I mean, you talk about being a wrestling fan. Florida was literally the only place for cable televised wrestling events. So I was blessed with that. I've been blessed to live right up the street from Full Sail, where they filmed NXT for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but yeah, man. What about you, Matt? Come on, man.
Oh man. Okay. So I have I said to myself, I could have built one, but I really wanted, if I was pushed into it, I would build one on the fly. So I'm going to build one on the fly here for you. One, I have to have HBK because he's the GOAT. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. That's my man's in them. I've got to have HBK. But aside from HBK, the rest of this group is super black. He's just like the white boy that they hang out with. So
it's like the Nation of Domination with Owen Hart.
Or what was the guy with him at the beginning with, who ended up being part of that biker gang?
Well, the original Nation was very multicultural because you had Crush and Savio Vega, and you had PG-13 along with Farouk, and then the Clarence Thomas wannabe lawyer who was like a manager there. So that, and then they had there's a woman who wasn't Jackie Moore though. I forget who she. I
don't remember the woman in Nation. Oh, anyways, yeah.
But then afterwards, then Farouk made it super black by kicking Crush and Savio out. That's what started Gang Wars. Don't you remember?
Yep. Yeah.
And we had Los Boricuas, and we had the Disciples of Apocalypse, and
there you go. That was the name.
DX, man. And we had Gang Wars, which Bruce Pritchard said it wasn't a gang thing. And then, of course, shout out to Conrad Thompson, who was like, "You had a pay-per-view literally called Gang Wars, where all these gangs fought. What are you talking about?"
And of course, they all had like the different races and everything represented. Like,
oh yeah, the only thing we
like
didn't
totally...
and don't forget, we also had Kai and Tai during this time frame.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We had Taka Michinoku and
Choppy.
Nataka, or what was his name?
Togo was one of them, and then the one that got really famous from the group. That all they had the whole Indeed thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I can see his face, but I forget what name they gave him. But anyway, so all right, so HBK is in my group, and he is actually not going to have a title because he can do it. He's like the leader. He's not the leader, but he's like, he can do everything. So he's just like a kind of like a mentor that's there just like in the support role, because he's going to kind of act like a manager in some ways, but also be involved,
like Ric Flair in Evolution.
Yeah, kind of, exactly, kind of like Ric Flair in Evolution. So in my group, I have HBK, and then I have my man Bobby Lashley.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm a big Bobby Lashley fan, always have been. Bobby Lashley is going to be my champion. My HBK is there, and he's not my muscle, but so he's technically, I guess, part of it on the tag side. My muscle, he's an undersized muscle, but he's still my muscle. And he's just there to hit people and be angry. And that's Bad News Brown.
Oh yeah. Yes, I like it.
And then I'm gonna mix up. So my tag team that has HBK is gonna have some Freebird rules going on a bit. So you'll see Sean tagging and these guys tagging with each other and such. I'm gonna add the homie Too Cold Scorpio.
Wow.
Big fan of Scorpio.
I haven't heard that in years. I
Hey,
like
he's
it.
still working and flying because he's too cold.
I like it.
And then I'm going to add a obscure name, but I'm a big fan of his. Happens to be a friend of mine. He's currently I think the promotion is ALW champion. Most known for his work in Ring of Honor as the color and commentator for Ring of Honor Wrestling, Caprice Coleman.
Huh.
So Caprice, and if you haven't seen Caprice work, Neff, I will send you some matches on YouTube. He and Cedric Alexander were known as the CNC Wrestle Factory.
Okay, I know Cedric.
Yeah, so they were a tag team in Ring of Honor. There's a really good match with Caprice and Kenny King for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. Caprice is from North Carolina. He used to kind of grew up with the Hardys. And
That's cool.
Yeah, so they're all the same age and they're from the same area. And he's fantastic. He's one of those guys that you watch him work and you're like, I don't understand why he didn't become, he wasn't a bigger draw. Because he's fantastic and he's in fantastic shape. So Caprice Coleman and HBK mixed with Too Cold Scorpio would be my tag team, my Freebird tag team. And I also, because I like all three of them would also be kind of vying for mid-card titles, as Bobby's my world champ. Bad News Brown, and I would start my angle off by Bad News Brown capturing the title as an underdog because he deserved the title shot. And then he would drop it to Bobby in a kind of like a finger poke of doom type situation, establishing the power with Bobby Lashley as champ. And then is HBK versus Bad News Brown. Bad News Brown goes over, ends up dropping the title on purpose to Lashley. And then this defies that there was their plan all along and they were all together and it was all a ruse to put the belt on Bobby.
I love it. Man, you guys came in with like all these storylines, and I'm over here with like, oh yeah, The Rock, The Undertaker, Chris Jericho. I might as well have just said Vader and just cut it off there.
I don't have a name for mine though. Mark had names. I don't even have a name for mine.
I know. Yeah, you guys brought the heat. It was funny when you said it's about to get black in here, and then I was like trying to think of obscure wrestler. I'm like Elijah Burke.
I mean, I like.
I thought it'd been funny.
I like Elijah Burke and all, but nah.
If you start with the HBK and then you just listed the DX group, that would have been hilarious.
Shad Gaspard.
Oh, rest in peace, Shad.
Shad, honestly, one of the greatest men I've ever heard of. Like one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and then what he did for his son. Honestly, one of the most respected people.
I still can't talk about Shad. I start to get all teary. He was just a super nice dude, and he was really, people don't realize because he wasn't wrestling really how his career was taking off. Like he was the body model for Kratos for the new game, the newest God of War. He was starting to get some small acting gigs. Things were really going well for Shad, and him and JTG were talking about doing a comeback.
Yeah,
and,
with like AEW and all that.
Yeah, there was talks, there was rumors about AEW, rumors about WWE, rumors about Impact, but they were both in great shape. He was doing well outside the ring, getting himself back into, because he built his body for kind of, not for like bodybuilding, but he had a more of a bodybuilding look, and he was starting to get himself back into wrestling shape, in a more of a wrestling build for him, and just to tragically go like that, it was super sad.
He went as a hero though, like that. That's
I
why.
mean, there's to make sure your son lives, and that's the way any parent would want it to be. If someone's gonna die, it's gonna be me. It's not gonna be my kid.
A true like man. Like that's the definition of a man, protecting, like putting your family first. Like, I mean, he's got nothing but respect.
Is there any other better definition of love than to lay one's life down, or the other? There's no better, bigger expression,
And I grew up, like when I started getting into wrestling, like in 08, 09, something like that, or like around middle school time for me, which was like 06, 08, that kind of area. That's when Crime Time was kind of taking off a little bit. That's kind of when they started out, and they were really blowing up. I mean, JTD, Shad, I mean, one of the best theme songs. When you hear Brooklyn, you're like, oh snap. I used to have that on my iPod. I used to jam to that song. But like, man, like there's some great wrestlers that are just good people. Like I like Shad, John Cena, obviously all his stuff he does with Make-A-Wish, like he actually cares about those kids, like stuff like that. I love hearing like stories about amazing people who are in wrestling, because there are people who are not so great, like
CM Punk. I'm sorry.
Oof, or New Jack, who like literally wanted to compete.
New Jack. Yeah, I have never, as a person, I barely liked New Jack as an entertainer, because I don't call him a wrestler, because I've never seen the man do a wrestling move in my life. And I was in my prime. You talk about like middle school for you, getting into wrestling. I've been watching wrestling since the 80s. I was there for ECW. I was in the ECW arena when I was in high school, and I have never seen New Jack do anything but hit somebody with something or jump off of something. I never seen him put anybody in a headlock. I never seen him do a suplex, a snapmare, nothing. I've never seen New Jack do a wrestling hold or wrestling move, but he wanted to call himself a professional wrestler. I'm like, no, you came out there and hit people with guitars and trash cans and cheese graters, and you jumped off of stuff, and you were high on coke while you did it.
It's like ICP.
That's wrestling to a T, bro.
And what was crazy about it was, I mean, New Jack had not a great one, but he had personality and he had charm for being not the greatest person. So because he had charisma, because there was charm to him, because I was there, I've seen a New Jack match live. When Natural Born Killers hit and that music's blaring, and that music, because unlike anybody else, his music played the entire time he had his match. So the music's going, the crowd is singing Natural Born Killers while New Jack is just, bashing people with things. And it was an experience, it was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But then you look at it, when you sit down and you look, I'm like, this match sucked, because he can't do anything. Like he couldn't do anything. And what's crazy is ECW was built upon having the best wrestling and how good the in-ring product was. And then New Jack comes out, and you've got Rob Van Dam, you've got Jerry Lynn, you've got Chris Benoit, you've got Dean Malenko, you've got Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Yoshihiro Tajiri, Super Crazy, Taz,
Super Crazy,
Mike Awesome. You've got all of these amazing technical wrestlers.
Sabu was one of my favorites.
Sabu,
he jumped.
Yeah, Shane Douglas. People forget like how good Shane Douglas really is, just because he didn't get over in WWE.
Tommy Dreamer in his prime.
Shane Douglas is the most underrated wrestler. Like I did a rewatch of VCW, and I kind of forgot that Shane Douglas is like persona, his character during that time is just so good. It's just sad he never got over in WWF, and then when he went to WCW, just like didn't pan out. Like that dude just had it. Wasn't packaged right.
Well, that and if you notice, and I love Paul Levesque, but Paul Levesque stole his gimmick. He stole Shane's ECW gimmick and applied it in WWF, and he got over with it where Shane couldn't get over with it. And partially because I believe Shane's promos, his ECW promos are better when he can cuss. Yep. When he can cuss without limitations, his promos are better. His WWF promos, his WCW promos, when he's not able to drop his occasional F-bomb or whatever, his promos lacked, I don't know if it's the intensity level was different, but there was something that wasn't the same as it was for his ECW promos. Everything he did outside of that, that vibe, that sphere just was not the same. So, but yeah, that's underrated. Great take on that there, Mark. All right. Because we had to get a late start, we're gonna close out with one question here, and for both of you, and this is something that's alarming to me, and that is, why is Chris Pratt seemingly set to voice everything under the sun? First it was Mario, now it's Garfield. What's next?
Yeah, I think the natural progression is he's going to be, it's going to be Charlie Brown. I mean, at this point, he's going to be everything. But Charlie Brown, I think, is the next step. Or better yet, he's going to be Snoopy. He's going to be a character that doesn't have a voice.
He will give it,
of course,
give it a voice.
It'll be the voice.
He's going to play Charlie Brown. He's going to play Snoopy. He's going to play Woodstock. He's going to play all the characters in the same movie. I think that's an all Chris Pratt Peanuts movie.
He would be a great Sally, I guess, but I don't know about anything else.
I'm going to tie it to his faith, and I'm going to say he's going to bring VeggieTales to the top and be Bob the Tomato. He is just going to, that's his next role. He's going to make VeggieTales mainstream and make that guy even more money. And
make Dwayne Johnson Larry.
Yep,
I know. I've got a better one. You're probably too young to remember this, Neff. Mark, you may know it, but it's, unless you grew up in the 80s in a Christian home, it's unlikely. But Chris Pratt probably knows. Chris Pratt is going to do a one-man version, he plays all the roles, a one-man remake of the Gospel Bill show. He's going to be Gospel Bill. And if you don't know what Neff, look it up. It's an 80s Christian Western kid show. So predates VeggieTales. And he's going to be the Sheriff Gospel Bill. He's going to be the general store owner, Miss Lana. He's going to be the bank owner, T.U. Tutwater. He's going to be everybody. Every character in the show is going to be Chris Pratt. And now I need to find one of those face apps and a clip of Gospel Bill and just throw Chris Pratt's face on it. Jeez. Just so you guys can get a visual, and you'll see him drawing his gun. And I'm probably going to put a caption. I'm going to bust a cap in you in the name of Jesus.
This summer, one man, one Bible. Chris Pratt is Gospel
Bill.
Yes. That will be the next thing that he tries to take over. I can see it now.
Satan's taking on the town, but there's a new sheriff, and his name
Chris Pratt plays Gospel Bill, and of course he plays the bad guys too. We can't leave that out. Chris Pratt will play everybody.
Satan's saloon is open, but it's about to be shut down permanently. Chris Pratt is Gospel Bill.
I love it. Yes, we're gonna have to make the trailer for that.
Oh goodness.
I just don't understand. Like, I understand. Look, he was great in Lego Movie. Yeah. Cool, because Emmett didn't have a voice. We didn't know who Emmett was. Emmett's a new character, but Garfield, his voice doesn't fit Garfield.
No, Bill Murray fit Garfield perfectly, and that's
true.
Because...
But I understand finding someone new because Murray hated doing it. But Chris Pratt's not the answer.
No,
But we don't know. We've never heard his Mario or Garfield voice. For all we know, it could be amazing.
Do you
Yeah,
really
his
think
voice-
Chris? Do you really think
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
Pratt has another
Who knows?
voice?
Maybe.
It's gonna be
If-
like Sonic.
Yeah.
Although Sonic casting, Ben Schwartz was actually pretty good if you compare him to like the old cartoons.
Yeah.
Well, the
I
old
think
cartoon
Ben-
was Jaleel White.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah,
I love
Urkel was
Jaleel
the
White.
original voice. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think he did a pretty good job of having that youthful voice to it. I think he was very funny. But then you have ones like Detective Pikachu. You have Ryan Reynolds, and it didn't. It only. I think it only worked for that movie. Like I thought that was a really funny like gimmick gag that really worked because it's like, oh, it's Pikachu, this cute little thing with the voice of Ryan Reynolds of Deadpool.
Right,
You
because
know?
it was like a gag. Absolutely.
But now,
No-
now you
no
have
one took
what,
it
you're gonna have
seriously.
Mario. Yeah, you're gonna have Mario as Star Lord.
That's just
Is Gamora is Rosalina gonna be played by what's her name? The lady who plays Gamora?
I don't know, but it should be his ex-wife. It should be Anna Faris.
Oof. Tough. That's a big oof.
I mean, but
No.
really, what's next? Is he gonna play Peppa Pig?
Maybe.
Is he gonna
She's
play?
huge.
Obviously, he has a great agent who can get him these
Yes,
jobs.
the
to get him
real
paid.
MVP is Chris Pratt's agent getting him these
Yes.
jobs that his voice doesn't fit.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be Gumby, the Gumby reboot.
Give me Gumby. That's what I feel like. No,
No,
if you're
no,
gonna
no.
do Gumby reboot, it's gotta be
If
Eddie
we're gonna
Murphy.
do Christian shows, then he needs to be Davy and Goliath from Davy and Goliath.
Davy and Goliath. No.
If we're gonna stick to stick to his face, he needs to redo Davy and Goliath. He can do all the voices for that. We'll see how that gets over.
Who plays Goliath?
He does all the voices.
he just does it
In all your productions, you're only hiring Chris Pratt
Yeah,
to do all
clearly
the voices.
he's the one getting hired. So he's the one going, Davy, oh Davy, and he's just doing his Chris Pratt voice. And
What are you doing, Davy?
what are you doing?
I'm distracting
Davy?
you turd nugget.
I'm gonna jump down this well, Goliath. What are you doing? I don't think that's a good idea, Davy.
Dude, that
Oh,
that show's nuts. I remember that show.
Oh, but do the Lutherans rock with him? I don't know.
The Lutherans rock with Chris Pratt.
I don't-
That's a question for the ages. Yo,
It's a question
do
for the
Lutherans
podcast.
rock- Yeah, there you go. Do the Lutherans rock with Chris Pratt? That sounds like something. That's like. There's a song by Insane Clown Posse where they ask like these weird questions that are like what are magnets? How do they work? And that's like one of those questions. Do Lutherans mess with Chris Pratt?
It's a question.
It's
It's a
that-
question of the evening.
Just
That's
in
gonna
that
be
vein.
that's gonna be a poll question. I'm gonna put that tonight on Twitter.
Do
That's the question that came out of this episode. Do the Lutherans rock with Chris Pratt?
if the Lutherans is a band, maybe.
Possibly.
We got the Lutherans and with our guest star, Chris Pratt.
All right.
But here's the thing: Chris Pratt plays all the members of the band.
And he plays all the instruments, of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Jeeks, that is going to conclude this episode of the original Jeek podcast. This episode is not only titled, but has been a half ton of awesome. I am your host, Rocky Mr. Magic, and I want to give a special thank you to my guests, Mark Jones of the Infinity Bros podcast and Quentin Gregory Neff of the Nerd of Godcast. Gentlemen, before you go, please share with the world how they can find you and your respective podcasts on the interwebs.
With me, you can find me at MarkyMark61 with 2 Y's. On Twitter, you can find Infinity Bros on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Discord, TikTok, the InfinityBros.com, our own website. And, you can hear our podcast on anywhere you get a podcast from. So there it is.
Excellent. Yeah, and you can follow me at Nefer Say Nefer on Instagram. Don't laugh. Don't. How could you? How could you do this, Mark?
How dare you?
The betrayal. How could you?
It's great. It's
I'm
great.
sorry,
it's great stuff.
Marky Mark.
It's on brand.
If I can't have
I couldn't get Marky Mark because someone already had the one with one Y, so there it is.
Yeah, but it's Neffer, Neffer. Say Neffer, spelled the same way. On Instagram. You can also follow the podcast, Nerd of Godcast, on all social media platforms. You can go to our website, nerdofgodcast.com. We have a blog. We have our polls up there. We have this thing called Best Thing Ever you can vote on. You can. We also have a Facebook group called the Nerd of God Squad, where we have lots of members where we just share our memes and live our dreams. So feel free to join us there. Hit us with an app, and we'll invite you right in.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. And folks, we want to thank you, Jeeks, for listening. And remember, we could not possibly do the show without you, all you Jeeks who continue to support us. So please rate and review the show on your podcasting app of choice. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, and more. And if you cannot find us, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us on Facebook at Jeek Nation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backwards cut.
Come on, clap for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek podcast.